just hope that Brad is able to join us here shortly. Hunter's going to work with him. I just said we'll go ahead and get started, Will. I think ultimately, like, to reiterate my message on Monday and Brad's message yesterday, we understand we've done a really bad job of communicating to you all, keeping you all in the loop, what and why we're building things, getting your feedback on certain things. We've assumed too much that, oh, this won't be too big of a deal for them. And then certain things are. And yeah, it's just not okay. And, so there's a number of things too, where we've spent the last 6 or so months mainly building this content distribution system. And I think there's a ton of benefit for you guys in the long run, and kind of what we're doing and where we're going with this, but we've left you totally in the dark as far as those sort of things go. And anyway, so the big thing though for us is we want to get better at communicating with you all, making sure we get your feedback, that when we say our roadmap is dictated by your feedback, that we back it up and we mean it. So we did open up the public roadmap to you guys yesterday, and I hope that was helpful. If you haven't seen it, it's in Notion, and we emailed it, and it's in Discourse. But anyway, yeah, if you have questions for us, there's no question that's off the table for today as far as what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're getting better at communicating, or whatever. So if you do have a question, go to the Ask a Question tab and put your question, and we'll start answering them. You can upvote questions if you want to, if one is more important to you. I mean, we'll hopefully get to all of them, but that functionality is available to you there. So anyway, so open floor, guys. Ask your questions. I'm going to go ahead and get into the question answering, unless, Will, you had anything before we did that.
No, and I think Brad is still trying to join. I had to switch computers and switch to Chrome. Safari wasn't working for me, so apologize for that wait. But hopefully Brad will join us any minute now.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so the first question that I'm seeing is, my internet connection is spotty. Only reason I haven't switched is with new launcher. I'm dead in water without internet. Now, at least can do solo games. I've put a ticket into it, but afraid if it goes out. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I'm happy to pay by Steam Game Time more sure, and folks can play if ISP is down. And okay, so Barry, if I'm understanding your question, you have spotty internet, and you're concerned that if your location does not have a stable connection to the internet, you won't be able to launch content at all through Springboard. So we released a feature in the fall we call safety mode. And safety mode, what it does is it automatically kicks in if your internet connection, if Springboard is unable to communicate with your location, and your launcher being serviceable, and games loading, and your customers being able to launch and switch games. There's some functionality if safety mode kicks in that makes, like, things like filtering by genre or seeing how much time is left. Those things aren't available because we do need a connection to the server to know that information. But the most important thing, your customers being able to select and switch content, is still available during safety mode. So Barry, I don't know if you've noticed your location switching into safety mode from time to time, but that should happen. We also, in the background, have been strengthening safety mode and making it more reliable. And we also long-term are looking at a truly offline mode. But there's a ton of work that goes into building a scalable solution like that. So anyway, I hope that answered your question. Safety mode should kick in for you. We're making it stronger and stronger every day, more reliable. And the long-term solution there is an offline mode. So.
All right, next question is, does anyone else have issues with content library not being alphabetized. And Marie from our team asked, do you mean the marketplace page or the My Library page? Olivia, if you want to chime in on maybe on the channel here, that would help us. Marie could probably respond to that. I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question. I will say we are working on a marketplace kind of 1.5, like a newer version of the marketplace that will be coming out. I think it's on the public roadmap. You can see the timing on it, but obviously right now the marketplace isn't super robust in terms of being able to filter or having different ways of discovering new content. So that will be changing. We're also working on content bundles. So you'll be able to, for instance, have a one-click install for an EDU starter pack or a narrative category starter pack. Or if you're a new arcade, we've had this as a pretty regular request. Brand new arcade, you just open your location. Like, what are the 15 titles that you should have installed that are kind of guaranteed winners based on our data and everything. So having that all bundled up where you just hit one button and boom, pushes to all your stations, it's going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you want more clarity on how we're answering these questions, please go ahead and continue to ask. Next question: timeline likelihood for Springboard merch / posters. When you say Springboard merch,
I love this question.
Do you mean like Springboard swag, like this hat, or do you mean like content assets?
For titles.
Yeah, for titles. Rachel.
Our marketing team's on, at least John Luke or Jacob, one of you is on. We do have some cool Springboard gear, which I love that question. So I'm taking notes on that one to figure out how we can get you guys some gear. Same if Testa want shirts and hats. I do know that there's a few people walking around. We have some Servios gear that CEO Brad carries a Servios backpack everywhere. So you guys are way ahead of the game there. We'll get back to you on that one. Next question is, that's kind of a softball question, by the way. That's great. Can we have more of those? When will we see original pricing? Can I have a Springboard shirt? What original pricing?
Yeah,
Gordon, you got any?
Sean, what can you expound on that real quick? What do you mean by original pricing? Do you mean
post in the chat and we'll loop back to it?
Do you mean regional pricing? I'm gonna assume you maybe mean regional pricing. You can now see where we are with everything like that in our public roadmap. John Luke just linked it above here in chat. We also sent it to you in an email, as well as it's in our discourse community. But it's looking like sometime late June, I think. I think last time I looked, it's somewhere around there. Don't hold us to that. There's a number of things that come up, but that's Mark says, what is regional pricing? Regional pricing is will you explain regional pricing?
Yeah, so short answer is obviously I think we have arcades in 50 something countries, maybe a little under that. So with currency conversion, for many of you, maybe even on the call, paying for title usage, content usage in US dollars is not very advantageous to you. And so regional pricing is based on the purchasing parity, which is a UN standard based on how much it costs to purchase like a loaf of bread in various countries or whatever. So it will have regionally adjusted pricing that content creators at the end of the day do get to set, but we give them kind of a standard that's based on the purchasing parity. And so, for instance, in Mexico, to license a title, as long as that content creator enables regional pricing for Mexico, Mexican operators will have better, it'll be more affordable essentially for them. So just kind of, that's probably the best.
Yeah, and it depends on the country too, obviously. I think for Mexico specifically, it's like something around a 50% discount on the price of content.
And we have a decent number of Canadian operators, maybe some of you on the call. Canada, depending on how the dollar is fluctuating, it may be just it's still a fraction, maybe a penny or two cheaper. So Go Canada. We learned a lot about Canada the other day in a call because I think we have 4 or 5 developers up in near Vancouver, BC. And so we learned all about the Sir John MacDonald, the founder of Canada. So
Yeah.
USD is hurting us. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, we'll see how things go. Yeah, don't want to get into politics, but with this tariff stuff with China, the US dollar may be more affordable. So what are the 15 titles that are guaranteed winners? Great question, Seth. I don't, off the top of my head, don't have a list to rattle off. I think if you look back on some of our past blogs, we do have top title type lists. It partly does obviously depend on your location and how it's set up and everything. I mean, they're the obvious ones, the Beat Sabers, the job simulators, obviously. Some of Servio's titles like Creed is a top performer. Yeah, I think we can, and very soon we're going to be, we'll be pushing out a blog article, which if Seth, you want to send me your email, I can make sure you get it. But we're publishing a blog article that essentially is, starting a VR arcade, here's the 15 or so titles you should check out. So I'll be sure to get you that.
Okay, from Jules, how does multiplayer behave with the new CDN system? Do we need to foresee any multiplayer that are not going to be compatible with the new system? This is there's a few different ways to answer this question. Well, I'm going to let you take the first stab at kind of where we are.
Sure. So right now, out of the 70-something titles that have uploaded to our new CDN, I think there's 3 or 4 that have multiplayer systems that are not working fully or that are partially broken. We're working with those developers to try to figure out why that is. There's others like Loco Dojo that do work, but it's a little bit confusing because they've left in some of the, so basically for them to upload to CDN, they have to disable or turn off any Steam dependent features. So that would include things like if they're using a Steam plugin for the leaderboard or for the matchmaking, obviously that's not going to work with our distribution system. Most, Skyfront as an example, most developers that are distributing their title and that are not just dependent on the Steam ecosystem are using other functionality to enable things like multiplayer leaderboards. So Skyfront's going to work, regardless, and that's true for a lot of the titles. There are some of the top titles that are still trying to figure out how to make multiplayer work. And Jordan, maybe you could talk a little bit about upcoming, a little bit about our plans for multiplayer internally, to support that more.
Yeah, and this is honestly one of the big things that I'll give a little bit of background into our process of, for whatever reason, just because maybe we're ignorant, we just don't know, we've been fairly secretive about what we're doing. And it's because we're afraid people are going to use the information for some reason that's going to hurt us. And it's just, we've started to realize that's silly. Why are we doing that? Keeping our customers in the dark. And there is a number of amazing benefits that are going to come with this new content distribution system. And the big one is our ability to work directly with content creators to build functionality for the content that the out-of-home space desperately needs. And there's a number of things that you can see on the public roadmap that we're thinking about and that we will be working on. The big one, or the topic of this conversation right now, is multiplayer. As you guys know, getting your customers into a multiplayer game is incredibly cumbersome. And the way you do it with Quiver is different than the way you do it with some other multiplayer title. And so what we are building is a way for you as operators, one, to, from the monitor, select a group of customers or a booking, let's say station 1 and 2, and say, I want them to go into Arizona Sunshine in a co-op game on this level, launch, and boom, they're in. Or in the headset, a customer will have a UI where they can see a list of all the content that is multiplayer enabled, and they can browse and look, and they can join a game, they can host a game, and they can invite other customers to join them as well. And you as an operator will have the ability to keep this closed off to your arcade only, or you can open it up to the global network as well. And so these types of things wouldn't be possible if we didn't have our own content distribution system and getting content creators, working directly with content creators to build functionality like this. But that's something we're just really, really excited about offering. I mean, it's a ton of work, and it takes a lot of collaboration with the content creators as well. And we just are at the foundational stages of starting to really think through this and how do we do it and what's the best way for you guys. So we're going to be involving you guys during our process as we're kind of looking at building this out. And so we'll keep you all posted, but there's a number of other benefits like that it's what it's called is an SDK that we're going to have content creators basically implement into their content. And there's a number of different features that will enable fun stuff, from multiplayer to leaderboards to achievements. A lot of really cool things coming now that we finally have the content distribution system live. So.
And our team, it's sometimes hard because the behind the scenes, there's so much work that goes on building like the basic infrastructure stuff that goes around with even just the tracking sessions and billing and everything else. And so I think this CDN, CDS, whatever you want to call it, has been one of those huge foundational pieces that now that it's built, it's sort of everything else moves quicker. So we are really excited. It feels like one of the biggest things we've heard from you guys is that multiplayer titles do drive repeat business, and they're one of those proven, ROI type titles. But training your employees on 15 different methods of getting in and out of multiplayer, and then having customers fumbling around trying to get into something with Quiver or whatever, it's a challenge. And from the studio's perspective, it's a little bit hard because they don't, as of right now, have great tools to be able to. There's really not a standard, and specifically if they're building for home, they're kind of porting over that home multiplayer functionality into the out-of-home space. And oftentimes, what your location with 10 stations and 2 employees needs is totally different than a home user who's really familiar with VR. So you guys know that. But so leaderboards, that's another great example. Leaderboards, tournament play. Right now, if anybody has participated in a virtual athletics league tournament, the way that they're capturing scores and collating everything, it's all very manual. You're having to take video recordings and then recording global high scores and sending it in. So a lot of those types of things become possible now that as we go forward with an SDK that and the fact that we have sort of there's enough of you guys now on the platform, it's easier to have conversations with studios to say, hey, we think this is worth your time. We know that it's going to be diverting resources and developer hours away from building things for the home, but we now have there's enough locations and enough volume so that for some of these studios, it really does make sense to do some customization. Because it does, that's the thing I always try to explain maybe to operators that don't get a chance to talk with all these studios, is that these guys are small teams. Even the big ones are nowhere near, they're a fraction of the size of a big AAA studio. So many of these are indie studios with just a few people working, and every hour of their time that's not spent on building their game and really for them, home is where it's at. They need to be able to sell in the home. And so we're starting to see more studios get excited about LBE as some of them start to make a little bit of revenue there. And so hopefully that will continue. But right now it is a real struggle just to get studios to kind of quote, pay attention, much less we have hard enough time sometimes just getting on the phone to get game licensing going, much less asking them, hey, can you spend 100 development hours to integrate our SDK? So anyways, just a little bit behind the scenes on that. Next question, Jordan, you want to?
Yeah. Hey, so Mark, my biggest issue during this process has been trying to get help on technical issues unrelated to the new system. I have 2 issues I've been asking for help on for months. I assume you mean features that you need to be successful. If you can be specific on what are you needing Springboard to do to help you. If it's just a tech support issue, man, I apologize. We majorly missed the mark if you've been asking for tech support help for 2 months. Mark, if you could add a little bit more clarity there. What are the things that it's tech support issues? Okay, so Hunter is here on this thread. I'll have him connect with you. That's sorry about that if we've been unable to help you with your tech support issues. So I'm sure I'll get our tech support guys on it, and I'm sure we'll get it figured out ASAP. Is it, well, if you want to provide more clarity there as far as, well, I'll have Hunter get with you, and hopefully we'll.
I second that. Hunter is definitely MVP. So let's move on to the next one. While maybe Hunter, we can connect with Mark to figure that out. MixCast integration. Really excited about that. Jordan, if you want to share a bit.
Yeah. MixCast integration. So we are finalizing the technical integration this week. I believe. I mean, we're on schedule at least today. And we're looking to pass a build off to MixCast next week. Hopefully everything is fine and dandy. And we'll be able to launch either end of next week or the week after that. If you don't know what MixCast is that, we lost Will. If you don't know what MixCast is it's a mixed reality solution. If you don't know what mixed reality is, it's basically, it transposes your customers into the VR experience. So when other customers not in VR are watching them and they look at the TV, they see little Johnny painting with tilt brush or shooting zombies. And it also automatically does screen capturing, so images and videos. So to me, it does two amazing things. It majorly increases the customer experience as far as transposing the individual in the VR experience, and mom and dad or friends. It's just so much more engaging for them to see their friend in the VR experience doing whatever they're doing, right? So that's one. Secondly, the automation that they've built into the system allows videos and images to automatically be captured and distributed. And there's multiple different options for that distribution. One way I like to explain it is, I'm sure you've been to a theme park, Disney World or whatever, Six Flags. You get off a major, huge roller coaster, you go to the little kiosk, and you see that picture of you on the climax of the roller coaster with this, you and your family are all screaming. And they sell those pictures for like $10, $15 a pop, whatever. Kind of same idea, where it automatically tracks you. You can you go into their little kiosk, see yourself, pull up images and videos of yourself, of the customer, and then they can choose to purchase them. Or there's another model that MixCast offers where you actually give those out for free to your customers. It's free for them, and they share on social media. Your arcade logo is watermarked, and it's just awesome. It's an awesome way to share what VR is, because 95% of the world still has never tried VR. And so for them it just helps, it makes it so much more clear what VR is when you're transposed in the experience. So there's a couple of different options there, and we think it can actually help increase your guys' revenue as well as increase the overall customer experience. So coming very, very soon, Sean. Okay, next question. How can we test, train staff without incurring fees on the new system? So going back to the roadmap again, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. There's a card in there that addresses this issue. It's still a bit out, but it's coming, I think, within the next 3 months, where content creators can opt in to allowing for free minutes of time. And we think it makes sense. So it could be like maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour of free play time. It only makes sense, right? Because your staff needs to understand what the content is. They need to be able to explain, okay, when they get to this level, they have to point over here, and being able to explain that stuff to the customer and not be like, well, look to your left, and trying to help them figure out the level or whatever. That's a bad customer experience. And so you guys should have the ability to have a little bit of time to get familiar with the content so that you can properly explain it to the customer and sell it, right? You want to get them in this content that is good, that you've spent time thinking about what you want in your lineup. So to us, it only makes sense. And we are looking to build that here in the next few months.
And we try to, with new titles, to get some kind of promotional window. You'll notice, when Space Junkies came out, it was free for a month. A lot of the newer titles that we're bringing on have some kind of window. So definitely jump on, especially with the new system. It's so easy. Click a button and install it to a station or two and try it out. The other thing I'll just say for reference is, I think this is something we will have soon. But for context, the average price for titles, like platform wide, is about 6 cents or just over that. So although it's not ideal, having an employee play something for 5 minutes, is 30 cents. 10 minutes is 60 cents. So again, I'm not saying that it's a very valid thing that we're going to add, but hopefully it's not a huge hit to try a title for 5 or 10 minutes and until we get it set up. So, and also we do have to educate content creators to help them understand why it's necessary for operators to have, from their perspective. I think sometimes it's, well, if it's being played, it should be paid. So there's some education that we have to do, and that takes a little bit of time as well.
Yep. Okay. This next question, I'm actually going to give you guys a link, because I could try to explain this, but you quickly realize that I can't do it very well. So this question is, I'd love to know more about your planned CDN content caching, primarily interested in bandwidth reduction for metered bandwidth location. So we have a bit of a discourse post there for that, and you can check it out there. I wish a dev was on. A lot of our devs are just out sick today, which is kind of unfortunate. But this is what I know at a super high level, not being technical at all. I know our devs have spent a ton of work tweaking this specifically to make it as absolutely efficient for you as possible. How they've done that, or what exactly has been done, I unfortunately can't answer that question, but I don't know. Will, do you?
No, we can. I mean, probably the best bet would be we could do a little bit of a better write-up about it and email it to everybody.
Yeah.
Check out that link. Of the tech leaders on the team, Jordan and I are not top on that list. So if any of our devs are in the chat and want to post a little thing, Chris or James or anybody, feel free. Otherwise, we'll try to email something out.
Okay, next question.
By the way, this is a little nerve-wracking jumping on a very public QA. You have no idea what people are going to ask. So we appreciate you guys, and hopefully we're trying to do the best we can to answer your questions with transparency. But if we don't know, we can't answer. So okay, so what's next?
So next question is, what upgrades or features will be coming to the upgraded booking system? So actually, real quick, can I get confirmation from anybody on our public roadmap? Can you click on the cards and see more detail in the cards? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So on those cards in the public roadmap where we talk about what we're doing to the booking system, you should see that. But I guess let me take a second just to talk a little bit about what our plans are in general for booking. I know you guys in the past have heard me talk about, we don't want to become a booking system, and we're looking at other companies, and we're still kind of trying to balance that line, but we do have more clarity now. We are looking to integrate with probably the 3 most used booking platforms that our customers are currently using if they're not using the free Springboard solution. And that is, I think, Checkfront, maybe Acuity, maybe Zola, something like that. Or maybe Fair Harbor. I don't know. There's 3 or so that we're doing. I think it is Fair Harbor. James Pollock, I know you're going to ask specifically. I think, yes, Fair Harbor. So To answer the question is, we still know that there's a number of very specific features that third-party booking systems offer that Springboard doesn't. We want to take the time to integrate with those so that when a booking does happen, it automatically gets inputted into your monitor. With that said, we are still doing a few minor tweaks to our booking system, stuff like, either like a Google or a Pixel Analytics integration or a PayPal integration. So those sorts of minor things, but we still are at the point where if you need the super customizable, flexible, tons of coupon and discounts, multiple experience bookings, etc., I think the best option for you all at this point is to check out some of those integration partners, and we will have more information on those fairly soon. So looks like Brad has finally joined us. Good timing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey everybody, so sorry. I know this sounds kind of ridiculous. I had a kindergarten, my daughter's in kindergarten. It was a career day scheduled weeks in advance, and it was a 15-minute presentation, which was kind of fun, but I couldn't miss it. And I thought I could get on my phone on the way there, so I apologize for being late, but I'm excited to be on, and happy to hear from you guys.
Great.
Did we get the custom launch scene question from Rachel, Jordan?
Yeah, sure. And I'll say too, real quick, if any of you all have trickled in recently, if you have a question, any questions on the table, go to the Ask a Question tab there at the bottom, input your question. And you also can upvote questions. And, we have scheduled 20 more minutes, and we got 10 questions, and more questions keep trickling in. So I would encourage everyone to browse the list of questions. And if one seems more interesting to you, go ahead and upvote those to make sure that we get to them.
We'll try to speed it up a little bit too, see if we can.
So, okay, the next question from Rachel, likelihood for custom launch scenes in the Springboard launcher. I'm assuming the fastest route would be via loading an asset bundle, assuming Springboard was built in Unity. Do you mean like the Springboard environment, like we have the city skyline right now? Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably, technically, to give you all the ability to upload your own launcher environment is almost impossible, because there is a number of tweaks that we have to do to that environment to make sure the UI works and fits and all of that stuff. The UI as in point and click at your game, and the lighting. And there's a number of super minute technical details that we did look into trying to do this at some point, and it's just about impossible. With that said,
yeah, we're in the process of updating the environment right now. I think that the current one is fine, but we think it can be a lot more excellent. And I think, for us, and I'm sure for you guys too, that first moment a customer gets in VR, we want that to just be amazing. And we don't think the current environment does that. So we'll keep you guys posted as we move down that road with the new environment, and look for some feedback there. But the goal is to be something that we're all proud of, that when somebody puts on that headset, it's a wow moment.
Yep.
If I license a game from a developer, how will this affect PPM with Springboard? So I assume you mean if you have a direct deal with that developer. So the short answer to that is, and correct me if I don't understand the question right. So short answer is you can obviously manually sideload titles if you do have a direct deal. And we are assuming that if you aren't using our content licensing system, that you're either getting it through Steam site licensing or you're getting it direct deal from the developer. So that would be the short answer. Is it shouldn't affect, other than obviously there have been some, there's some maybe small caveats there, but yeah, it shouldn't affect your PPM. Next question is for me. You just talked with Victor from Targo. Yes, so we're going to be, Brad and I are going to be at Cannes Film Festival meeting with a bunch of studios from all over the world, really, that are coming there. And we will be meeting with Targo, and they're based out of Paris. And they have, for anybody who hasn't heard of Targo, they've got a bunch of 360 content, including, they have one that's been in the news recently. They filmed the Notre Dame Cathedral shortly before it burned down. And so they have a 360 experience where you can go into the cathedral. So we'll definitely keep you updated on that, Ken. The one challenge with 360 content right now is the types of 360 content we are getting on the platform that will be coming soon is it has to be packaged in an exe so we can distribute it. At some point, we are planning on having a more robust true 360 video support, but that's the only kind of caveat. And it also, packaging it in the exe makes it more optimized. Some of these video files are 15 gigabytes, and you have to have a 2080 Ti or whatever to even run them. So as Hunter knows, we had some titles that nobody on our team had a computer that could even play it without freezing. So I'll keep you updated on that.
Hey, and one comment there too, just so you understand our perspective on content, and Will may have touched on this earlier, but our perspective is that it's unacceptable for us to not get any content that you guys want. Like we have enough volume that should never be an issue. And I'm sure you guys share that sentiment. So just know that Will and team are working hard on your behalf to get the content that you want and to get content that you don't know about yet that you're going to want.
I will say it has been a challenge. We're still fighting kind of an uphill battle, although it's starting to shift. One of the examples I like to give is it literally took us over a year to get a sit-down meeting with Job Simulator and the Alchemy team. And that was with us on multiple fronts, working all the angles. We finally got to sit down with them and explain the platform and show them kind of what the opportunity was. And that's when we got Job Simulator on the platform. And so that's starting to become easier. But, again, for context, a lot of these content creators have small teams that are very focused on their game and their home product and whatever they're working on next. And so having those conversations about what is LBE, what is the opportunity, how do we license, what are the terms, what are the contracts, that, we're hoping, for instance, Angry Birds right now. Angry Birds told us we're not interested in LBE, we're not interested in licensing commercial space, despite us showing them the opportunity. A year later, almost, apparently they've kind of had a change of mind. And so hopefully, as we're talking to them, maybe we'll get something going. So and we're going to try to do a better job of keeping everybody updated too. I know sometimes like 6 months goes by and it's like, hey, well, what's the status on this title? Sometimes it's just we haven't been able to get a hold of them, or sometimes it's that we're working through contract stuff. So like we have there's not a huge content team, but there's three of us that our full-time job is just talking to content creators, and we do a lot of other stuff too, but we spend a ton of time on every title that gets on the platform is a massive amount of work to get through all the hurdles, legal, tax, and otherwise.
Yeah, and the one quick comment too is the Job Simulator one is kind of fun because I have an email that I sent to the Alchemy before they got acquired by Google in like March of 17. And, we've got 40 locations, and they're like, not interested. And it was like, we just annoyed them for months. But what's cool is that someone just said that success is often contagious. I mean, that's exactly right. Like as it got to the point where they finally realized, like, okay, wow, there's something here. And now we've got a great relationship with them. So I think it's just a matter of time. So let's move on.
If anybody's interested on the caching or catching, depending on how you say it, Christopher from our team, is amazing developer, rock star on the team, just posted a little bit of information, maybe not fully answering it, but at least there's a nugget there for whoever had that question. So, all right, we're running out of time.
Yeah,
so
Mike had a technical question. Jamie, one of our developers, is going to answer that question in a comment.
Cool.
All I see, Jamie, right now is oh no, there it goes. Okay.
There we go. Posting right now.
All right, I'll go to the next one. Along with the same train of thought, easier multiplayer games. What about arcade leaderboards for point-based games? It'd be awesome if Springboard could better facilitate a beat safe.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think Will touched on that. That's one of the many things we're doing with our SDK and working with content creators to have those saved and be persistent across your customers, so that when John comes in and he plays Beat Saber on this mode and expert, and then the long-term goal is that, okay, Sam comes in and Sam beats John's score. John's going to get a text notification being like, hey, you just got surpassed at the arcade. You better, click here to book now to get your high score back. So stuff like that is kind of what we're envisioning the future for us as far as what's possible with an SDK and working with content creators to enable, amazing features like that. I'd love to hear more on the integration with MixCast, perhaps just a brief overview of how it worked. So maybe you typed this question before I gave a quick overview, but I'll just do it really quick again. It's MixCast is basically, it enables mixed reality. Mixed reality transposes your customer into the VR experience. So when Johnny goes in with his parents, or if someone goes in with their group of friends, they see their friend transpose in Arizona Sunshine. So they see zombies coming at him from all different directions, and they see him turning and shooting. And it just makes for an awesome, awesome customer experience. On top of that, they automatically save the assets, both images and videos. You can go to a little kiosk after their session. They can view the assets, saved images or videos of themselves. They can choose to purchase them. You can choose to just give them away for free, but it costs a little bit to MixCast, but basically in a way it's quote unquote free advertising, because they hopefully will share those on social media and with their friends, like have this amazing experience. Overall, that was a really quick answer. And
by the way, I don't have an echo. Sorry. I think this is right, but one of the things I heard with the big investment that Andreessen Horowitz did into Sandbox VR, the $62 million or $72 million investment, was a big part of that is Sandbox has some special ability to be able to use MixCast in marketing and in getting repeat customers. So it should be cool for everybody to have that opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to start going speed round, continue the trend of speed round on some of these answers. But Jamie's asking about, are we planning on expanding the booking? I did kind of address this a little bit earlier. Our stance at this point is we're making a few small tweaks, but things like you mentioned here, multiple price points, depending on day versus night, those sorts of things, we probably aren't going to touch, at least not anytime in the near future. What we are doing is we're integrating with the top 3, maybe 4 third-party booking systems in the industry, so that when they make a booking, Fair Harbor, Bookio, Checkfront, Zola, Acuity, a combination of those we're going to be integrating with, so that when they make a booking with those systems, they get inputted into the monitor. We're still working through that and what technically what it's going to take to do that. But our stance at this point is Springboard booking system is going to be fairly basic with certain functionality to just run your business. If you need more customization, like the things you mentioned, multiple coupons and discount options, etc., we're going to recommend one of our booking integration partners.
And the reason we're doing that is because we've just realized we're not a booking company, and there's companies that do booking way better than we do. And so we want to give you guys options. If you want to go with the basic package that we'll have available, that's great. But if you want something that's a little more sophisticated, we want you guys to have that opportunity as well.
All right, Scott, you're asking a question about you think that there's a lot of poor content in the marketplace. I'm going to let Will take this one.
Yeah, I'm back to a different computer. My other computer crashed. Just like, man, tech issues today. Short answer is if you had a chance to read any of the recent blogs that talk about our new content evaluation process, maybe Jean-Luc or William could post in the Slack or in the channel here a link to that. But we've kind of shifted. Early on, we just were trying to get as much content as we could. We wanted to have a variety of options available. So part of that, and we just didn't have the resources to really super, vet and curate every single title. So we've definitely changed, and we're moving more now towards kind of that curation and being a little bit more judicious about what we bring on the platform. So some of the main ones are just, if a title is in early access, and it probably isn't yet it's not helpful to put it into an LB setting where if there's bugs and there's issues and the customer's putting on the headset and it's broken. So that is changing. And yeah, take a look at that link. Hopefully that will explain some more. But yes, agreed. And that will be, and as we move from, our marketplace where we were using Steam keys for distribution to now where everything's through our CDS, at some point, the titles that are on the CDS will just be those more curated, higher quality titles. So
here's a great question, teeing us up for, I think, at least a fun discussion maybe. Brad, I'm going to let you take this one first. What would be the one thing you want to see happen in the VR industry for betterment of all?
Wow. That's kind of a philosophical question. I think we actually think about this a lot, and our 15 or 20-second origin story is that's why we got into VR, probably like most of you, was because we saw this new technology that had this potential to change the world, and we were these idealistic kids and said, oh, maybe we can be part of that thing. And so that's kind of been our motivator since day one, is how do we help VR shape the world in a positive way? And then we've kind of dialed that in to say, okay, the action today is in location-based VR, and that to some degree, the overall growth of the VR market is dependent on the success of location-based VR, because it's this place where we can all live as the consumer market grows, and even as the LB market grows. And so we think that LB is so important for all of us, and then even for the long term of VR. It's where, I mean, based on our surveys, it's 90+% of people experience VR for the first time at an arcade, which I think is just a fascinating statistic. And so I think one of the overarching challenges we've seen is the fragmentation. And, that's from a content perspective, but it's kind of across the board for LBE with hardware and so on. And so I think that we're working on that on a number of fronts. And we really believe that a lot of the challenges, especially as it relates to content, Will and team have done a lot of interviews and a lot of study over the last year with operators and with content creators, understanding the challenges and the pain points with accessing great content and getting good content that fits into your business models. And I think sometimes, content creators don't get that, and vice versa. And so that's one of the things we're trying to push into hard, is how can we remove some of that friction? And then maybe we get to have kind of a very small network effect, that if we can remove the friction around the distribution of content, and both sides of that equation can become more profitable, then the whole industry can grow quicker, which ultimately then benefits the growth of not just LBE, but VR overall. And we all know of the exciting potential beyond just entertainment that VR has. So that's my quick answer.
I'll share my bit from the content side more. Kind of obviously that the content team is kind of where we're living at. So for me, I just keep thinking about, probably many of you started your location because at some point you put on a headset and you had some wow moment and you thought, my goodness, like I got to get this out to everybody. Like all my friends need to try this. If any of you is like me, when I got my headset, all my friends came over. I was showing it to my family. My dad got into Zombie Train Simulator, and the first time he put the headset on and the paper zombies all rushed him, he charged across the room and crashed into a desk. Thought he had broken his hip. So just that experience of getting to kind of blow people's minds is what got me excited about VR in the first place, and showed me the potential of it. Even as I realized the headsets are still kind of bulky and cumbersome, and the content's still improving. But for me, I think what I'm excited about is that there is this interesting, innovative new types of content that are coming out every day. I was just at Tribeca for a day or two, got to experience some of what's going on sort of in the narrative cinematic world, and some of the experiences we've tried from Cannes. We had 60 titles submitted through Cannes XR, and the cinematic narrative space is obviously sort of an artistic. They're trying stuff on the edge. They're messing around with different filmmaking techniques and everything. But much of that is going to come and bridge over into maybe the more traditional entertainment space. And so I think I'm really excited between the narrative content that I've seen that really gives me. I've tried so many wave shooter games now that they don't give me that same mind blown experience. But some of the narrative titles that I've been trying have. And then on the EDU side, there's some amazing EDU content that I think is really relevant for LBE. And we've talked to some of you that are doing after-school programs, field trips, etc. And so that idea that like the term arcade is in some ways accurate, but it's also a little bit of a misnomer, because many of you are making as much money doing group events, doing corporate training stuff, doing summer schools and field trips and everything else. So there's all these other revenue streams. Even we've talked to, some of you are experimenting with cinema nights, of bringing out the local arts community to try narrative experiences on a Wednesday night, when you're typically slow. So just that idea that like the experience somebody has when we put on the headset, and that whatever that is, whatever that content is, that at the end of the day is what drives everything. And I'm excited because I feel like filmmakers and game design developers are are still, despite the challenges they're facing with the lack of volume, or maybe VR is not as big as we thought it was going to be in 2019. Despite all that, they're still experimenting, still doing really innovative stuff, and all of that's going to trickle down to our space, and we're going to get to offer that to customers. So that's exciting.
Okay, awesome. We've got 4 questions and we got 3 minutes. I'm determined to answer all these questions. The first one is, will it be possible to install content on other drive, yada, yada. You can read that. Jamie is one of our developers. He answered that in a text below. I'm going to go to the next one. Content request. My daughter's high school offered VR tours of college campuses on a phone instead into a headset. It would be great to offer a better VR college tour experience through our.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how do I answer that question quickly? We want to get into this as well. We want to offer more content like this, and we want to be able to support other types of HMDs like untethered, like the Go and stuff like that. We're working on solutions like that, but we'll keep you posted as we progress. Brad, Will, anything on there before I move?
No, that's good. Let's try to answer everything.
Plans for save game support now that we're transitioning to the new CDN. So yeah, this is again going back to the SDK and the capabilities that we're building with that. If you check in our public roadmap in the column, I think it's 3 to 6 months away. We show off a bunch of the functionality we're looking to develop with these SDKs and working with these content creators. And absolutely, save game support is coming. It's going to enable stuff like leaderboards, persistent leaderboards, and everything like that. So yes, it's coming. And as we get more details, we'll get you guys involved in how those things are being developed. Third-party booking system is great as well, as long as it's two-way sync. Yeah. So Ken, yes, some people are finding that one-way sync works just fine for them with certain workarounds. However, we have identified at least one of the companies that we for sure can do a two-way sync with, and we're looking at what it's going to take for something like that. We'll keep you posted as we learn. And yeah, as soon as we figure out if we can do a two-way sync with one of these guys, we'll let you know, and we'll look to make that integration happen as soon as possible. So,
and Ken, just so you know, there is definitely an internal battle that's on your side for the two-way sync.
Yep. And Sean, technically, if you guys want to get super technical, we're calling our platform, our feature, a CDS, Content Distribution System. And there's a reason our dev said, well, we can't call it a CDN because technically something. We don't care.
There's a reason.
Ultimately, we're distributing content directly from Springboard, hosting the content, distributing it to you.
Oh, there Jamie goes adding layers to it. The CDS actually has a CDN.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I think we answered all your guys' questions. We want, of course, keep the conversation going. Hit us up on Discourse. Email us, of course, if you have any questions or issues or anything. We want to continue the conversation. And Brad, I'll let you kind of close this with.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. I felt like it was like a movie. Like, do I abandon my daughter for work when I'm supposed to be at career day? So I couldn't do it. But we really, really appreciate everybody that's on this call. We appreciate all of our customers, and we're thankful that you put your trust in us. We don't take that lightly. And look, if you're on this call, if you're in VR right now, especially if you're an LBE, you are a pioneer, and that's exciting. That's what we got into it for. It's exciting, it's fun, it's new, and we appreciate your patience because, we have a weekly roadmap call, and I always tell Matt, this is my happiest and saddest moment of the week because I see the new stuff that we're doing, and then I see the timing, and so we are absolutely fighting for you guys and trying to pump things out just as fast as we can. So thank you for your time, and I guess just the last thing is, we've said this 5 times now, and we hope we're going to prove it to you that we're going to improve our communication, and that we're going to improve just space for you guys to give us feedback. So thanks for bearing with us, and just keep letting us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming. If you only got to see a portion of this, we will send out the recording to all Springboard customers in an email. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace.